Joining me now, John Fund, a columnist for National Review magazine. John, good morning to you. An important morning as everyone takes a look at this. A lot of talk, not a lot of action. Some critics saying that President Obama should have acted a year ago or before against the Assad regime we knew had chemical weapons. Is time our friend? Is time his enemy?
Well, Congress right now doesn't look as if it's going to give the president the authorization he wants. I doubt, if they don't give it, that he's going to go off and do this unilaterally against the wishes both of Congress and the American people.
Why not, John, if he said that he knows he has the authorization and ability to do it without congressional approval?
Because that would mean an enormous hit in the public opinion polls. It would mean that the president would basically be acting unilaterally, which our Constitution does not allow. He says he has the authorization to do it unilaterally. It's not what the Constitution says and not what most scholars say.
I'm going to ask my military guest later, Captain Chuck Nash, whether or not it's considered an act of war to do a limited strike. That is what, under the Constitution, the president would have to get congressional approval on. We know some presidents have acted unilaterally.
Sure.
How do you think the president is viewed? We know what the polls were before he made this speech. They've been dwindling in terms of approval and ability to handle everything from the economy to Obamacare, which many Americans have called in polls a joke. What about this? This is no joke. So how do you think he's viewed now domestically and, even more important perhaps for our national security, internationally?
Well, when Barack Obama ran for president in 2008, one of the things we learned was that when he was in the Illinois State Senate, he voted present more than any other member. In other words, he chose not to take a position. I think we see the latest manifestation of that tendency right here. The president blinked. The president flinched. It looks bad for the United States. The president unilaterally declared a red line that if Syria used chemical weapons, we would act. He has now stepped back from that red line. I think he's humiliated his Secretary of State, who gave a speech on this on Friday. And I think in general, it makes the United States look unreliable, weak, and pusillanimous.
You know, I monitored and reported actually on that speech as John Kerry was speaking. Many people said it was emotional, heartfelt, strong. And I'm glad you brought it up because I wanted to listen with you to what Secretary Kerry said, our Secretary of State, about the timing of a decision on this. Listen.
So that is what we know. That's what the leaders of Congress now know. And that's what the American people need to know. And that is at the core of the decisions that must now be made for the security of our country and for the promise of a planet where the world's most heinous weapons must never again be used against the world's most vulnerable people.
Many people read that as do it now or we'll face those heinous weapons, not just the citizens of Syria, but perhaps Israel or others. Yet the president said yesterday, and I'm quoting, it's not time sensitive.
Well, the Joint Chiefs of Staff who work for him, agreed with him on that. That doesn't make it so. Assad has probably already moved political prisoners and perhaps children into all of his vital military areas. It would be a horrific set of videos if we managed to bomb a bunch of children. He is moving his weapons all around Syria, so making it much more difficult for us to attack him should we choose to do so. The bottom line here is this. Either this was a direct threat to the interests of the United States, in other words, military force was called for, or it was a humanitarian action to try to enforce international law when no one else in the world was going to join us effectively. You can't enforce international law with only one country. It doesn't work.
And there is international law. Chemical weapons forbidden.
Yes, but it doesn't advocate use of force to do so. You need to establish a coalition. We've had a coalition in the past. Obama had one in Libya. Bush had one in Iraq. This time, the coalition is basically we, ourselves, and us.
And possibly France. We're watching the UN, too, to see what happens today. John Fund, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always appreciate